Okay. 5e spell changes. That's what we wanted. Summarizes rule changes from the implementation of 5e. Okay. Acid Splash is now all creatures with a 7-foot radius. So it's now an AoE, a proper AoE. I feel like it used to be like 2 creatures next to each other or something. I'm not entirely certain that's what it used to be, but I think it's close. Blade Ward, which previously was entirely useless with basically no edge cases where you'd ever cast this. Not exactly true, but pretty damn clear true. Oh, I'm thinking True Strike. Blade Ward was pretty bad too, but it was okay. Well, the spell's description says 2 turns. It effectively until the end of the caster's next turn. It's pretty garbage. Rather, I don't understand. What's the change? Was it previously something different? Who knows? All right, Bone Chill, Dancing Lights, Eldritch Blast, all down to 60 foot. A lot of range. Minor Mage Hand and Minor Illusion increase cast range. It's kind of nice. True Strike. Okay. Not a lot there. What about the other changes here? Bone Chill, Undead have disadvantage on all attacks instead of just caster. Sure. Dancing Lights, action to cast cannot be moved as a bonus action. Can only have 1 light at a time, which sheds bright light in a 30-foot radius. They just decided to make Dancing Lights extraordinarily bad. Huh. Okay. Worth emphasizing that you will lose reputation for every you cast Friend Zone when the spell ends. It can sometimes be avoided by casting Friends while under the effects of Disguise Self. At launch, these reputation drops will only likely be present at higher difficulties. Okay. Oh, I should be reading it. Why is Firebolt listed here if it has no changes? Weird. Guidance persists for a minute and can be applied to multiple skill checks in that time. That's really nice. It was just really clunky to have to recast guidance every time you did a thing. This is going to be super good for talkers in a dialogue tree too, right? Where they're chatting, you go through this dialogue and a bunch of things occur. It's kind of nice. Radius of shed light increased to 25 foot and duration reduced to 10 minutes. Sure, I don't think that changes that much. What was it before for light? 20 foot? 15 foot? Something like that. Mage Hand now requires concentration. Did it previously require concentration? I feel like it didn't. And that's kind of a big nerf to Mage Hand. I wonder what Mage Hand will be like in this game. I've never seen a good implementation of that in a PC game yet, so we'll see. Tabletop it does. Okay. In my head it didn't. Mage Hand is not really for throwing stuff around. Mage Hand has low strength. Mage Hand is more for like doing precision stuff at distance, like pushing a rock over or, reaching in some guy's pocket or something. This type of shit. It's a really fun pen and paper RPing kind of thing. So I'll have to see what we can actually do in the game with it. How it's really going to just depend how much effort the devs put into making it relevant. Same with familiars, same with minor illusion. All these things are super creativity dependent and imagination dependent and generally don't work very well in PC games. So I'm kind of excited about it. Okay. All right. Minor illusion requires concentration, does not break stealth to cast. That's nice. Spell is limited to make a distraction with NPCs may move or turn to investigate. Okay. So not going to be a ton of minor illusion stuff you could do, but this still could be useful. Pulling guys out of position, etc. That's cool. Resistance. The 1d4 to saving throws can be applied for as long as concentration is maintained up to the spell's duration 1 minute. Sure. It's a cantrip. It used to be entirely useless. Now it's less useless, maybe? Okay. Shalea can now be applied to both magical and non-magical whiffs, saves, and clubs. Sure. Grants an advantage on intimidation and performance checks. I don't think it does that at all in the base game. Maybe it does, and I've just never known. I've never used this spell, I don't think. Okay. Some more things listed, but no actual changes here. And True Strike. This is the one that's basically never good, right? The caster gains advantage on their attack rolls. It does say range increase to 60 foot, though. So maybe you can now True Strike an ally, in which case it's not entirely useless. Kind of be good. In Vicious Mockery, the spell causes the caster to make a verbal quip, which is voice acted. Dude, I hope they have a large number of verbal quips, since you do often, especially as a bard, spam Vicious Mockery in the early game. And I get you, that could be really annoying if it's like the same insult again and again and again. All right. They do have a ton, chat says. Good. Okay. Oh my God. I didn't realize quite what we were biting off with this review. All right. On to the second level spells. Here we go. Aid affects all allies within range. There's not any effect on the ally if they're down. Okay. Bark Skin lasts until long rest, but still requires concentration. That's an interesting change. Blind Deaf. Distance increased to 60 feet. Deafen is not an option. Target can only be blinded. Okay. Blur. It's just listed. What? I don't know what to make of that. Okay. Branding Smite. This is part of the attack action. Will only consume the bonus action of the spell slot if the attack lands. That's a big, nice improvement, right? Concentration is to maintain the frightened effect on the target rather than the spell's effect on the caster's weapon. Nice. Spell only includes the option to make humanoids an area immune or frightened. Cloud of Daggers, damage applied to cast as well as start of creature's turn. I think that's a slight buff. Doesn't Crown of Madness does not require the caster. There's a lot of spells in here that haven't been in the last couple of D&D games I've played. Crown of Madness does not require the character to use their attack to control the target. The target will automatically attack the creature closest to them rather than the target of a slight nerf, I think. Darkness. Duration reduced to 1 minute. Duration reduced to 3 rounds. Cannot target an object. So they nerfed the shit out of darkness. All right. Devil's Sight Eldritch Invocation prevents darkness from blinding those with Eldritch Invocation or creatures like imps and allows one to make melee attacks in darkness properly. But of early access patch 9, Devil's Sight does not allow for ranged attacks through magical darkness. Possible bug. Okay. Duration changed from 8 hours until a long rest for dark vision. That's nice. Granted by the spell is reduced to 40 foot in line with the reduction in regular dark vision. This is a really nice buff here. I don't think it's concentration, right? Let's just double check. So we might actually be able to play a race that isn't dark vision for once. Might be nice. Okay. Well, I don't think they're listing all spells, Igty, so it's kind of weird to see some spells listed that have a dash and some not. Unless this is supposed to be all spells. Maybe this is all spells. I don't know. I thought I was reading a reduced list. Detect Thoughts. There's a dialogue prompt to use Detect Thoughts at specific instances. Fuck yeah. I always wanted to do this in PC games. To be able to cast my spells mid-dialogue if I could. Enhanced ability gives some garbage stuff. I wonder if that will ever be worth casting. Probably not. The weight changes according... Okay, enlarge or reduce. The weight change according to whether the caster uses enlarge or reduce, but the formula for determining the new weight of the affected creature is different. Okay. I don't know if I want to go through this whole list. Chat, any notables that I should pick out here? This list is a bit long to do in a single spot like this. It's kind of tedious. Maybe I could look for some of the really powerful ones. Increased duration on Pass Without a Trace is kind of interesting. They upped the stuff on Misty Step, the distance, which is kind of a big deal. Hold person dash. Okay. Heat metal. Let's see what they've done with this. Target has a metal armor and metal armor. Then has a metal weapon and metal armor. Then the spell will prioritize the weapon. If the weapon is the spell's target, and they must pass a Constitution save or drop the weapon. Flaming Sphere. Okay. I don't want to read through these too many. Let's look for some big ones. Spike Growth. Damage reduced from 150. Range reduced from 150 to 60. Duration increased to 10 minutes until long rest. Okay. Silence. Silences all spells as opposed to ones that just had somatic or just had talking components somatic. I think that's the right one. All right. Let's look for some of the powerhouse spells. A nerfed Call Lightning. Not that it really mattered since you couldn't move that around. It's basically one fight. And Fear duration reduced to 3 turns. Man, that is a pretty big nerf. 3 turns instead of 10. Have they nerfed all CC like this? Did I miss any major CC spells at 2? Like Hold Person? Hold Person's unchanged. Invis. It is kind of weird to see 1 minute. I guess you can't do sneaking shit with Invis now. Like out of combat stuff. Let's look for other CC changes. Duration reduced to 1 minute on fly. Target's movement speed increases 60 foot and they're able to fly between 2 points, but they must end their move on the ground. So you can't hover, which is too bad because there were things you wanted to do with that, like archers, right? Most of the fights in early access are resolved in 3 to 4 turns. That's interesting. Where's Hypnotic Pattern? Hypnotic Pattern's crazy, but do they really? Where did you see the nerf? Duration reduced to 2 rounds. My God. All right. All right, so CC heavily nerfed. To be fair, these were standout spells. That's literally what I'm checking right now, is checking standout spells. Haste buff's crazy. Haste buff's always been fairly crazy, but I did see the restrictions removed from it. Those just seem like in line with the other restrictions they removed. Speak with Dead is cast on self. It's interesting. The creature will still not talk with their killer, but one can get around this by using Disguise Self. This is the second time we've seen Disguise Self specifically referenced as something we can do that's cool. It's neat. Spirit Guardians. The most overpowered spell in the game. What have they done to it? The radius is reduced to 10, I think from 15. And the duration is reduced to 1 minute from 10. So no longer can you use... I mean, these are needed nerfs on this ability. This ability was so stupid. Like... It's just the only spell you ever cast again as a cleric for like 2/3 of the game. Maybe a slight exaggeration, but not too much more. Not too much of an exaggeration. 10 foot is nothing. It used to be 15 foot. It's a serious reduction in the overall area affected, but it's not nothing. It's gonna be for melee clerics doing melee cleric things, screwing people with that aura. All right. And then it looks like these only go up to level 3s on the changes, probably because this is early access and we're limited to level 5, right? So this is what this information is drawn from. Okay. All right, let's move on to weapon actions. What do they change here? Oh, these are what the weapons do. These are the special abilities applied to weapons that you get, 1 per short rest. Normally able to do bonus damage, hit multiple targets, debilitate foes, or move the character. To gain access to the weapon actions from a weapon, a creature must have a proficiency, and it must be equipped in the main hand or both hands. Offhand weapons do not grant weapon actions. In early access, the difficulty class or DC of a weapon action is equal to your spellcasting DC. Spellcasting DC? That's not going to... I mean, this is going to severely limit which classes can do these things if they require DC checks, though. This is kind of weird. For example, like your rapier, your finesse rapier, based off dex for all of its damage and attacks, is going to use int for the spell, for the ability to do a thing with it. I bet you that gets changed. Okay, let's see what they have here. All right, so Warhammers inflict prone with a saving throw of strength. And I think this is additional damage here, right? Called Backbreaker. Okay. All right. I mean, prone is much better in this game than I've seen in the past, I think. Like, a lot of extra nice status effects on prone. Seems cool. Ends their turn. Pretty powerful. I wonder if I can use this as a reaction. Anyone know how weapon actions work with reactions? Like, is it going to prompt me each time I do a thing? Okay. All right, Brace. Glaives and Pikes. Cost me movement. Oh, it says right there, cost an action. So I probably cannot. All right, cost an action. Advantage on damage rolls for this turn. Damage rolls, so not hit rolls? Neat. Cleave for battle axes, so two-handed melee weapons that are not reach. Gain strike 3 targets and a 5-foot cone. Halved weapon damage, added damage not halved. So, okay, so the base weapon damage is halved, but all your riders are not. It's kind of interesting. Okay. Clubs, light hammers, maces, warhammers, great clubs, and mauls. Inflict dazed. What does dazed do in this? In Baldur's Gate 3. Dazed has disadvantage on wisdom saves. Can't take reaction and loses the dex bonus to their armor class. Okay, I guess I need to at some point skim the rest of their status effects. That's entirely new. Or rather, if this is in the base game of D&D, I've never encountered this ever. I can force disadvantage on wisdom saves by hitting them with a weapon attack. Okay, that's super cool. You set up some really powerful combos there. It's only once per short rest, but still, wisdom saves are often one of the primary ways that someone prevents being CC'd, is they roll a wisdom save, and forcing disadvantage sounds pretty awesome. All right, and that's clubs, light hammers, maces, warhammers, great clubs, and mauls. Sure. Crippling strike, war picks, battle axes, and tridents. Inflict crippled. All right, let's figure out what crippled is. Crippled is movement speed reduced to 0 and has disadvantage on dex saves and is removed by healing. Kind of neat. I mean, I feel like this system in general suffers a lot from not having enough like set to 0 movement effects. The difference between a sentinel tank versus a non-sentinel tank is absolutely crazy for the ability to keep enemies engaged where you want them. So adding other ways to inflict 0 movement is fairly interesting. Now, these are all double-edged swords, right? Because every one of these weapon effects here, presumably the enemy creatures are going to be able to have them too. So if there's a lot of status effects being applied by weapons, it's going to be kind of crazy to track on, but that's kind of cool. It's nice to have these options. And it doesn't sound like, chat was telling me that I can switch between, or rather what we read earlier, we can switch between melee and ranged weapon sets, but we can't switch between melee and melee weapon sets, which is too bad. It did say, what was the cost, chat, of the of pulling a weapon, equipping a weapon out of my backpack? Is that action or free action, or I get one of them per turn, or like, how does that work? Like how much? It's an action. It's one action. Okay. So, and are these weapon action attacks limited to 1 per round per weapon? Or excuse me, 1 per short rest per weapon, or 1 per short rest per character? If I have a fighter with a large amount of strength and a backpack full of just like ginormous weapons in the back, can I just pull out the one that's applicable to the circumstance if I'm willing to spend the action? I think I can. As I understand it right now, I can. So that sounds pretty good, man. That's pretty good. All right, we just have a utility bar. It's like a utility barbarian or like a utility warrior, and he's just like, hold on. I picked up this rusty club that gives tetanus to my opponents. I haven't used it yet. This short rest, let's pull it out and hit him with the tetanus tap. You know, like it's gonna be fantastic. I'm kind of looking forward to that. It's a cool idea. We'll have to look if there's. I mean, this is something else. Well, I guess this is an action. I was going to say this is something else the Thief class might be able to do with that extra bonus action, but if it's a full action, maybe not. We'll have to think about that. All right, let's see what the rest of them are. That's cool. I like these weapon effects so far. Okay. So we already looked at Dazed. Dazed was kind of wild. Crippling Strike was the speed to 0, which is okay, but not exceptionally interesting. Are these reach weapons? Battle Axe is not. I don't know if a Trident or a War Pick is. I actually have no idea what a War Pick is. Let's figure out what a War Pick is. War Pick is... Wait, you can add as a bonus action that allows the user to dip their weapons into a surface, causing them to deal extra damage. I wonder how many, are all the weapons basically dippable, or is this specific to the war pick that we happened to click on? I was actually looking for the reach of this weapon, which is melee. It's not a reach weapon. It's just a point blank melee. I think all of them are dippable. Oh my God. All right. These are so many buffs to melee classes here. It's really kind of cool. Like melee martial classes. I'm super excited about Pathfinder 2e to chat. I know that's not the system we're going to be playing here, but it is the system I'm currently learning in the background or about to start anyways. Let's keep going. Flourish. Our martial weapons with finesse. Scimitars, short swords, and rapiers get inflict off balance. Off balance. This is a lot of status effects, by the way. Where is it? Off balance. There it is. The affected entity has a disadvantage on strength and dex checks, and attack rolls against the entity have advantage removed by taking damage or when helped. Okay. It's a bit like distracted, honestly. Okay. And a little bit of extra damage on it as well. Oh, no, wait, this is Flourish. No extra damage. Heartstopper from Morning Stars only. Inflicts chest trauma on a con save. A lot of these are contested. I just remembered that. So, like, the one that breaks their wisdom is contested by Constitution. So a couple of these are less powerful than they look. Contested say, and honestly, at the moment, the way this reads, none of these effects are ever going to apply anyways, right? Since they're using your, apparently they're using your, they said they were using your spellcasting modifier, which can't be right. It's got to be your primary attack. It's got to be the modifier associated with the weapon, right? Surely. Imagine our I don't even know what to call him. Our kitchen sink barbarian is gonna have some trouble if all of his effects are int based. Anyway, where were we at? We were at a Heartstopper. We're trying to read what chest trauma did. What did chest trauma do? Chest trauma was alphabetical. Getting there. All right. Has disadvantage on con saving throws and has one fewer action. Wait, for how long? One fewer action? You know, people only get one action. No, it's not listed. It doesn't list how long. So sometimes you just hit it with your Morning Star and they go, oops, that was me done. All right. And I also like this too. Yeah, no, I get that it says until healing, chat. I see that it removes it, but most of these effects are going to have a duration as well. So if they have one alternate way of removing this is healing. It doesn't say it con saves each turn. I was assuming a con save only on application. But like some of them are hilarious, right? Because, all right, you got to hit them with the con save to reduce their wisdom save, so you can hit them with the wisdom save one that stuns them. You know, it's kind of weird. It's gonna be such a pain trying to remember these interactions. There's just so many. I was expecting there to be like 5, and we're already at like 8. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Lacerate. Just also look at the number of weapon types in here. This is wild. All right. Inflict bleeding. I looked at bleeding earlier. Bleeding was a pretty cool one too. This is an anti-con save thing, right? So I don't know if this damage is going to scale, but disadvantage on con saving is really, really cool. So another way to apply bleeding. Okay. Piercing strike inflicts gaping wounds. Gaping wounds are against creatures. Okay. Attacks against this creature deal an additional piercing damage removed by healing. Okay. There's 700 total games in the spell. Total spells in the game. That's wild. All right. Pummel strike. Bonus. It's a bonus action. This is our first bonus action. No, it's not true. Flourish is a bonus action. It's our second bonus action application. Inflict dazed. We already looked at dazed. Dazed was pretty wild. That was the wisdom reduction one. Long swords and great swords. Pommel strike. That's cool. Prepare on great axes. Extra damage on melee attacks this turn. It takes movement. Rush attack. Oh my god. There can't be. Oh, there's so many. Okay. All right. Fine. Rush attack. But we have tridents in here twice. So what does that mean if two weapons have if a weapon has multiple effects? It can use one effect or it can use each of those effects on each short rest. Inflict off balance. We already looked at that one. That was okay. Each effect. So some of these weapons is there any rule for that? Like all weapons have 2, for example? That'd be nice to hear something like that. Or do some weapons have like 5 and some weapons have 1 and some weapons have none at all? Chat. Tenacity as a reaction with Morning Stars, Great Clubs, and Mauls. What does it do? Inflicts damage on missed. Yeah, but what is tenacity? Oh, I see. Even if I miss it, this is the effect. Even if I miss, I hit. Okay. All have 3. Yeah, but that's kind of interesting because as chat points out, maybe a light damage hit on reaction is something, but it's not that interesting. But if there's effects that apply on damage stuff, it gets more interesting. Okay. All right, topple. Inflict prone, we've already seen that. Weakening strike, inflict weak grip. That's a new condition we haven't seen. What does weak grip do? Has disadvantage on attack rolls and strength saving throws removed if an ally helps this creature. Okay. All right, ranged weapons also have some. Brace for ranged is advantage on damage rolls. We've never seen advantage on damage rolls. That sounds like a really strong effect. So if you stay still firing a longbow, you take advantage on damage rolls once per short rest. Hamstring shot, also a longbow or shortbow. This one's an action. Inflicts hamstring, which presumably has a movement effect. By how much? Is it another full route? Nope, it's a half move reduction. But stays with you until healed. Dude, this is like the 5th or 6th thing that we've seen so far that's removed by healing. Are they gonna try to get me to heal in combat in a D&D 5e game? I mean, there's like 20 things on here that say removed by healing. It's kind of interesting. The effects only last for 1 turn, Bob? Or only take 1 turn? I'm not sure what you mean. Okay. Yeah, healing potions is bonus action. That's true. All right, we looked at hamstring. Mobile shot. Weapon attack is a bonus action. Okay, we already looked at gaping wound. It was additional damage to other attacks. Jesus, all right. Very heavy great axe gets gargantuan cleave. Strike multiple foes but inflict off balance on self. Okay. Conditions inflicted by, so they have a definition down here, but we already found another page for that. Okay. All right. So added a bunch of weapon effects, and they seem pretty cool and pretty strong. Although, as chat points out, I don't quite know the duration of them, how easy they are to interact with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I haven't really mentally internalized the pattern of which weapons have what here. But a lot of those were super cool, and they seem very synergetic. A lot of them are like debuff certain attributes or certain saving throws or certain effects of players. You might be able to combo in your team. It's kind of neat. If they were just like all damage things, it would kind of be dull, but maybe still strong.